¿Cómo estás, forense? Bienvenido una vez más al canal. En este video veremos las 5 reacciones más locas de criminales al recibir cadena perpetua. En octubre del 2016, un hombre llamado Jalil Smith Riley recibió su sentencia por haberle quitado la vida a una mujer de 22 años a punta de tiros, así como de herir a su novio en el 2013. Jalil en un inicio había admitido los disparos y se declaró culpable. Sin embargo, una vez que se dio cuenta de que iba a ser sentenciado a prisión de por vida, él cambió el tono y le rogó al juez que le permita cambiar su alegato, una solicitud que le fue negada. Miremos la reacción de Jalil mientras recibe su sentencia.
Smith Riley admitting to the crime, he confessed, pleaded guilty, then tried to drop that plea today. Judge Carlos Kubicki did not let that happen. Smith Riley was sentenced after families gave statements, his family asking for mercy, her family asking for a life sentence.
He took her from me. She was beautiful. Her beauty was not just skin deep. She had a beautiful heart, mind, and soul. She was a little sister, a big sister, a niece, aunt, cousin, granddaughter, and my daughter.
The judge sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without parole for Brooks' murder, and more time after that for shooting Martin, and still more time for using a gun. Smith Riley collapsed to the floor.
Life without parole. As to count 4 for the offense of attempted murder, the House Department of mandatory and consecutive underlying offenses. All those counts are consecutive each other. Coca Fred for time served amount of 349 days.
The families say this was the first step toward healing.
Daniel Hoxglow es un ex oficial de policía de Oklahoma, quien fue condenado por abuso sexual, agresión y sodomía, entre otras cosas en el 2015. Estos terribles actos los hizo en contra de 8 mujeres diferentes, llegando a un total de 18 cargos en su contra. Se reveló en la corte que este tipo usó su posición como oficial para averiguar detalles sobre la vida de las víctimas, para luego forzarlas a tener relaciones. Fue en enero del 2016 que Daniel fue declarado culpable y sentenciado a 263 años en prisión. Cuando se le dio su sentencia, el tipo se vio invadido por las emociones y comenzó a llorar mientras era escoltado fuera de la corte.
Guilty of the crime of sexual battery and set punishment at 8 years. Count 2, procuring lewd exhibition. Not guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition. Count 3, burglary in the first degree. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of burglary in the first degree, nor lesser included. Count 4, procuring lewd exhibition. Defendant is guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition, and punishment is set at 5 years. Count 5, procuring lewd exhibition. Defendant is guilty of the crime of procuring. Count 31, in the second degree by instrumentation. Defendant is guilty of the crime of rape in the second degree, and punishment is set at 12 years. Count 32, rape in the first degree. Defendant is guilty. Mr. Holtzclaw, this jury finds you guilty of the various counts. You will be remanded to the custody of the Oklahoma County Sheriff for formal sentencing set January 21st, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m. All right, if you have a seat. The custody of the sheriff, you're excused.
En agosto del 2016, un hombre de Ohio llamado Jason Benkewitz salió de la sala de una corte de 3 pisos. Y créeme, este dato es importante. Luego de ser sentenciado a 13 años de prisión, él fue condenado por asalto e intento de homicidio, luego de dispararle a un hombre en la cara solo un mes atrás. Las autoridades llevaron a cabo una investigación muy breve en el trabajo de Jason, a pesar de que el caso en realidad era bastante sencillo.
Moments after learning his fate, a 13-year prison sentence, Jason Binkowitz got away from the sheriff's deputy escorting him to the elevator and leapt to his death after jumping over the railing on the third floor of the Jefferson County Courthouse. The fall about 100 feet. Jefferson County Sheriff Fred Abdallah says that Binkowitz's hands were shackled, though his ankles were not due to issues with swelling.
There's enough movement in them, they could have still made it to the railing and jumped over.
Moments after the jump, emergency crews were on scene. Later, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation arrived to collect evidence, and because a sheriff's deputy was involved, the Steubenville Police Department is handling the investigation along with the Attorney General's office. Going forward, Jefferson County officials say they will take a close look at security.
Oh, I think we're going to look at everything. You know, it's a terrible day for this to have happened, and I think that we will look at everything we can to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again.
A un hombre llamado Yalil Hoskins le dieron una sentencia de 50 a 100 años en prisión en enero del 2014. La sentencia se dio luego de que Yalil fuera encontrado culpable de acabar con la vida de una joven mujer, madre de 5 hijos, y luego tirar su cuerpo en un basurero. Este veredicto se dio luego de que este sujeto pidiera disculpas supuestamente muy arrepentido a la familia de la víctima, declarando que amaba a la mujer y que haber acabado con su vida nunca fue su intención. Mira su reacción a la sentencia solo unos momentos después.
And that was how the sentencing ended today, with Hoskins being rushed out of the room and both families erupting in yelling and screaming. We were the first to tell you last month when Hoskins pleaded guilty right in the middle of his murder trial. You may remember Mays, a mother of 5, went missing last March. Her body was never found. Hoskins admitted he tossed her body in a dumpster. Today in court, before that outburst, Mays' mother and aunt had their chance to confront her.
You tell me how I explain what happened to their mom.
First of all, I want you to stand there and look at me and quit standing there looking at the ceiling like a little coward. You know, I'm going to face you and I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel.
Dos tipos de Tennessee fueron acusados de entrar a la casa de un hombre, abatirlo a tiros y robarle. El caso contra ellos no era muy complicado y fueron a juicio en 2014, donde se mostraron extrañamente sorprendidos de recibir cadena perpetua. Ambos hombres estallaron en fuertes arrebatos que en ocasiones resultó violento, causando todo un caos en la sala del tribunal. Démosle un vistazo al clip.
Chaos, disruptions, and threats take over a Hamilton County courtroom. Good evening.
Supporters of the 2 men convicted barely able to hold themselves up, and deputies forced to use taser guns, demanding other loved ones leave the courthouse. Just minutes before, inside the courtroom, the jury hands down a guilty verdict against Roderick Bates and Emmett Jones, now convicted in the death of Reginald Clark. Jones and Bates reacted immediately to the verdict. Family and friends of the victim remained quiet. They were clearly outnumbered in the audience. Meanwhile, Bates accused the all-white jury of racism, and the judge hit Jones with an extra contempt charge based on his behavior. Judge Stillman on the bench did what he could to restore order.